Welcome, everybody, to my awesome Friday evening. You're listening to me, Heidi, Hollis, the Outlander. So welcome to the show, everybody. Uh-oh, I'm getting some feedback. Something's clicking around. Mute. There we go. We're better. All right. Well, you guys, this show is about bringing outlandish and interesting topics to the forefront, from aliens, angels, ghosts, demons, holy encounters, shadow people, to Bigfoot, to the outlandish. I always say if it's weird, we're here, and now you are too. So you are among friends. And if you don't know who I am, when it comes to the outlandish, I don't care what's going on. No, I do. Personally, I'm someone who has been there, seen that, experienced it, freaked out, found some answers, wrote about it, got over it, and now I'm hoping to help others do the same darn thing and understand this crazy, crazy world of ours. If you do dare, go to my main website to learn things about me there that are just mind-blowing. Go to HeidiHollis.com. It's really difficult. Just sound it out. Yeah. And you'll also find I have Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and all that good stuff. Everything is on there. And I want to tell you guys how you can hear this program, because Inception Radio Network is everywhere. They have their own app, the IRN app. Fantastic. Most of you guys listen to it through the app, which is awesome. Only problem is I don't get as many live callers because of that, but it's okay. I'll survive. It's all good. And there is also a number you could dial that my parents use to just dial and listen to the entire network at area code 712-770-8888. So if all else fails, you dial a number, okay? Internet could be whatever, wackadoodle wherever you go, but the phone lines are usually pretty good anywhere you go, aren't they? Well, I don't know. And I also welcome you guys to call into the program. Anybody that's listening live, of course. So the number, get a pen, 1-888-919-2355, or Skype your comments and questions to Inception Radio Network. MJ is working the boards, and he will send that message on over to me. And there's also a live chat room. Go to irnchat.com. I will be there soon. My internet was flipping out on me a minute ago, but I will be in there soon. So it is going to be a fantastic evening. Tonight is one of those nights, people, where I'm foregoing. I know I've been not doing this as much. I've been doing my Outlandish Corner, but I am going to skip it tonight because this is a special show tonight. And in regards to a good friend of mine. But the Outlandish Corner, I am still taking your emails, so feel free to write me at outlander@gmail.com. That's D as in David, A, S as in Sam, outlander@gmail.com, and I will get to your encounters, your comments, your questions about anything and everything out of the ordinary. I do my best to lend a helping hand. And yeah, the last week was interesting. I did the Outlandish Corner at the end of the show, so you never know where I'm going to throw the Outlandish Corner in there. I usually do it at the beginning of the show, but last week it was a nice little kicker to the Halloween show, wasn't it? I thought it was fun. Really big doozies of emails, too. Whew. And you know what? The more details, the better. So feel free to send as much as you would like in those emails. I am good. I like the details, and I think the listeners do, too. They're like, ooh, that one was deep. And I'm like, I know, right? Gives me chills. So take your time, think it out, plan it out, and we'll just read it and go through it. If you want to call in to talk about it, too, we could schedule a time. It's all good. We could do that too. But tonight, like I said, tonight is a special night. Not too long ago, we lost a really special person when it comes to anything of mystery, conspiracy even, and that is Jim Marrs. He is a guy who actually gave me the opportunity to star on a Discovery Channel program that we're all cast in and pulled together. I was on there with Nick Redfern, Joshua Warren, Laura Lee, so many people, Ruben Uriarte, just a good crew of folks, and Jim Marrs, of course. And it was produced by James Castle and the creators of Mythbusters. It was really, really cool to get it put together of awesome energy, and Jim Marrs was at the forefront of that. I was living in Australia at the time, and got that call like, we want you. I'm like, I'm on the next flight. I'm coming. And so he gave me a really cool opportunity. So I got to know him on a personal level, and he gave me some really, really cool advice as an author. And essentially, if the publishers don't want to publish your stuff, you put it out there yourself. And he had like the biggest sense of humor. The man was fully loaded with so much information, and the humor to boot, and the cool cowboy hat. Come on now. He is just such a memorable character and really put a lot out there into the world. From every angle. So he is going to be dearly missed. We lost him a couple of months ago or so. And we're going to be talking about him this evening. And we're also going to have a guest coming on here. I have the publisher and president of Galaxy Press, Mr. John Goodwin. Everybody give a round of applause to John Goodwin. He is going to be discussing, and now he's the publisher of Battlefield Earth by L. Ron Hubbard. You guys are familiar with that, I'm sure. Very, very powerful and groundbreaking book. So, again, round of applause. Applause for Mr. John Goodwin. Woo! All right, John, are you there? You got to unmute. I can't hear you. Are you there?
I'm here.
There you go. Welcome to the show, John. How the heck are you?
Thank you very much, Heidi. Great. I'm great. It's been a beautiful day here, and I'm right in the center of Hollywood, where I'm located, about a block on Hollywood Boulevard. So nice. I'm right in the middle of the land of nuts and fruits here. And so it's but the weather just changed. It cooled down finally, so that at least is making it tall. It was like 100 degrees still. It was You probably
we're getting
a lot of fires happening around here.
For some reason, we're getting some interference, like it's gobbledygooking up. You're in a good spot, right? Pretty clear.
I'm in a great spot. It shows I've got good signal and everything. Yeah.
Wow, that's weird. It just it sounded like alien language for a second, but it's all good. I can hear you now.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I got
Awesome.
to tuck that alien back away. I got to tuck that alien back away now.
Yes. Back him into the corner.
Exactly.
So at Battlefield Earth,
yeah,
it just keeps growing. You guys are the winner of the 2017 Audi Award. So two categories.
that was quite. So that was quite an honor for us on that, because we put a lot of work into it. And Jim, you mentioned, we were talking
yes,
with your introduction about Jim Mars. He had read that book when it first came out in the early 80s, and so was quite familiar with it. And a mutual friend suggested I contact him, and he was very excited to talk about Battlefield Earth. He loves books, period, but he really liked Battlefield Earth, and it very much aligned to his own researches into, some of the things that are already happening, the globalists and whatnot. So L. Ron Hubbard's take on. Sometimes science fiction and satire go hand in glove. So even though it's a post-apocalyptic story, it also tells the story of the big corporations, what they do to gobble up the anything they want to in their sight to be able to make the ultimate profit. So he really enjoyed this story for what it talked about that, and so we did.
Totally lost you.
It was.
There you go. You're back.
Okay,
you're cutting in and out pretty bad. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I thought I lost you fully for a second.
Never. You'll never lose me.
You're not dancing around, are you?
No, I leaned back in my chair, and I immediately said, okay, I sat up straight again. So
so there's a sensitive spot. Something
straight for the next hour.
There you go.
Evidently, it's very sensitive. Okay, I'm here, and I'm not moving.
All right.
Yes. So anyway, with the audiobook, you were mentioning that it had the Audio Award. It is the top honors given to audiobooks, and it's the book itself is different than most audiobooks because it's like a old-time radio theater. We had 67 actors perform all the different characters. And wow. 47 hours long. It's just amazing. Over 150,000 sound effects. So it's just a total tour de force on this. And that's why it won the top honor, because it wasn't just because it was a good audiobook. It was because it also brought people into listening to audiobooks because of its quality.
That's quite the land of fruits and nuts pulled it together.
That's a fact.
Wow. It pays to live there in the midst of that. Wow.
In this case, it definitely did. We had some amazing talent to work with.
My goodness. Do you feel like you missed anything? Did you wish that you had a little bit more of something in it?
No, a lot went into this. So that was one thing that's good about it, is that the person that did the final mix for the audiobook had mixed some of the Star Trek movies. So he definitely had the perception of how to listen to a movie, and that's what this is. Just listen to a movie. It's your own visual track that gets added. So however you envision the hero and the heroine and the enemies and all that stuff there, it's, the description is really good from the author, but it's your pictures that will roll through, and that's why it was so important to have so many sound effects, because in actual fact, sound will trigger an image if it's the exact image. So like, if you hear just a car driving, the sound of a car, it's like, okay, it doesn't do anything. But if you hear the sound of a Rolls as compared to an MG as compared to a Volkswagen, when you hear the Volkswagen engine, you see a Volkswagen. You don't think it's something else. Or, other sound effects too. If you use the exact right one, then that image will come up. Because it's science fiction, what was done to handle aliens was we made it synthetic. So that was computer-generated sounds are the alien sounds, and the people in the story are made with organic sounds from the earth. So it really, a lot went into it to make it something that people can go like, wow, I get it.
Wow, that sounds fantastic. I love audiobooks, and that really kind of pulls you into it, it sounds like. My goodness.
It totally does. And if you're anybody that subscribes to Audible, you can get it for just one credit, which is one thing that's amazing.
Oh, thanks for telling me. I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
Wow. That is pretty wild. So Jim Marrs, he had been kind of...
And still does really well right now in 2000.
Wow. Oh, you're cutting in and out again. I am wondering if
I'm not moving this time. This time it's it's the satellites changing.
Yeah, there you...
It wasn't me. I tell you, it wasn't me. I'm innocent.
That's all good. I'm wondering if I should have MJ reconnect with you during our first break, but we've got 15 minutes till that happens, so it's all good.
Okay.
But so this Jim Marrs, he was a fan of the book for a very long time, and
he was.
How did he get involved, though? I mean, did he just bring you up?
No, he had earlier been a fan of L. Ron Hubbard from his pulp days in the 50s. He had read some of his pulp stories from back then. And so when this book came out, he read it. And it was a mutual friend that told me that, hey, Jim Marrs loves L. Ron Hubbard's fiction books. Give him a call and see if he read Battlefield Earth. So I called him, and he said how he loved it. And I said, would you like to be a spokesperson? He said, sure. As you talked about, he's sure.
Yeah, that sounds like him.
Yeah. So we flew him out to Los Angeles, and we met. And he actually had a convention he went to in Contact in the Desert. And so we met him there and spent quite some time and spent more time in Los Angeles. And then we invited him to an event up in San Francisco, which was Alien Con last year, or in 2016. And that was when he wrote this booklet we'll talk about a bit later on alien invasion. But when we started talking, he talked about how much he liked the story because of not just as alien invasion, but because of he definitely has an opinion or had an opinion on globalists. And so he really saw what the Cyclos, which are the big bad aliens, their intergalactic mining company, what they do to just savage a planet, to be able to pillage it of all the natural resources. And he saw that's very similar to what you have happening here on Earth, where you have the big the huge global corporations going into these third world countries, and they just take it for whatever they can get it for, and they don't really worry about the indigenous life forms. It's just whatever we need is for the profit, and that's how these Cyclos viewed Earth, and they referred to the humans as just animals. They're just animals, and it was fortunate, too, that at that same time, Elon Musk had come up with his comments about maybe UFOs are what took out his, his Falcon 9. And then earlier we had also Stephen Hawking that talked about maybe it wasn't so smart putting a map onto the Voyager, which is what started the whole thing with Battlefield Earth. Maybe it wasn't smart putting a map in there because we don't know what they're going to be like if they find it and come here. It might be like Columbus was with the American Indians.
Right.
It was good for Columbus, not so good for the Native Americans.
Yeah, it's like, hey, they want the land. They want to explore. Yeah. They want it just because they can. That's exactly. Actually
and if
how
they can get here, if they have the technology.
Right. If they have the technology, yep, you're right.
I mean, how are we on planet Earth? The haves don't really have a whole lot of concern for the have-nots. And the people with the quote unquote superior races on Earth don't really concern themselves over what they consider inferior races. We've gone through real bad periods of that, with World War II, but it still goes on. You still have it happening right now. So it's just something that, why would we think they're going to be any different? Well, if they're more educated, they're going to be benevolent. Well, the more educated we get here, are we more benevolent? So he posed those questions, Stephen Hawking posed those questions. So it was very, very timely with the release of the book. And it remains timely because now the second Voyager is also about to leave the heliosphere and hit deep space.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. I always refer to, because I'm into the real alien stuff.
Yeah.
I always refer to
not this pretend stuff, the real stuff.
Well, but it's very similar. I mean, these things come from far away, and they're just, for some reason, a lot of people have this notion because they're smarter than us. Why would they want land? I mean, they're so much more superior, as if they don't have those guttural animalistic instincts either or something. And like, oh, they wouldn't do such a thing. They would just come here and smell the roses. It's like, they could be just like us and want the land and be the boss.
Yeah.
And just do it because they said so and want to burn up the oil or the gold or whatever it is. So
exactly. In the book that Mr. Hubbard wrote, it was the gold. That was because it was a golden disc that they found that had the map to planet Earth. Then they went to mine the gold because it was one of the most valuable metals in the galaxy. And then they also would come in and they don't care about anything. They just want the gold. And there's other stories, or the water. It could be whatever we have to offer. That we're the vermin. We're the plants and animals vermin. So there's no reason to people will look at like, well, what about E.T.? What about E.T.? That's Hollywood.
Right.
And
yeah,
so
goodness.
It'd be great if that's what it was, but that's a total, for someone to assume that or base the future of planet Earth on that as the outcome is unfounded.
Yeah, pretty wild. I mean, perhaps he predicted, he tapped into an unknown source to know the mindset of some of these beings that are really out there, because my goodness, I honestly believe that the aliens that people report seeing these days are not good guys, that they are kind of wanting stuff and they want to keep it to themselves and they want to victimize humans. So I think
it'd be a very definite thing. Now, potentially our one saving grace, and this is one thing that Jim Mars went over too, is that this planet is so crazy that it's somewhat quarantined, and so they stay clear of it because it's just, the constant fighting with each other and the warring with each other, and as soon as somebody gets a piece of technology, they want to use that to be able to dominate another. And they just said that might be our saving grace, that if someone actually studies this, they go like, whoa, stay clear of these guys.
Like, well, they've got some bad mojo. You don't want that.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's like you're it, or you got the stink you don't want to touch. I gotcha. Wow.
They got the cooties there on Earth.
That's it. Cooties. We got Earth cooties. I am so certain. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if it was on the flip side too, that they want to keep away. But from what I hear, I mean, there's a lot of bad guys coming in here.
Because there is some crazy stuff happening. Yeah. And right now, the Earth is definitely pretty turbulated with, all the recent natural disasters, and then also the human-made disasters too. So it's a definite area to stay clear of right now until it chills out a bit.
Yeah, we've got this chat room that's going on, and somebody's asking you a question in regards to. I'm curious what you think. If you believe that UFOs have been involved with planet Earth for thousands of years.
Personally, absolutely.
Yes.
That's just like it's just I realize that some people are into the holding the doctrine that they don't exist, and because you got one thing too, and again, this is something that I had great discussions with Jim Marrs about. But a government is supposed to protect its people, and if they that's the same problem you've got right now with the nuclear deterrence. It's like with that existing, on planet Earth, a government is hard pressed to protect its people from, invasion. But now you take a look at this other. What if you have like aliens now, UFOs, and you have this? You acknowledge that, then automatically, that government is no longer able to wear its hat, to protect its people, because somebody else that comes in, they could totally do whatever they want to, and the government of the United States or whatever country would be totally at its mercy in what to do. And so Jim was also very much a believer that the constant denial by the government is in part due to that. Mm-hmm. That they do exist. There's so much evidence to the fact that they do exist, and even some.
Oh, you blanked out again on me.
Okay. Jesus, yeah. I'm sorry.
That's all good. It happens. Moving. It happens. Trust me, especially if we're talking about aliens and the government has to tap in. Oh, that's allowed.
Yes.
Oh boy, it's all good, man. So I think that our government has a whole lot of splaining to do. That's all I'm gonna say, because they are awfully nosy with people who claim to have seen something odd, too close or whatever it is, and suddenly they're getting kind of bullied, and men in black show up and they get interrogated, military abductions. And when Jim Marrs, when he would go and speak on behalf of Battlefield Earth, did he bring up these types of things, like what's really going on in that?
Absolutely.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it was really good. And he also in this booklet that we've made available to anybody that's interested, that the last one that he wrote, he has a section he talked about the remote viewers, and that they're actually used by the government, not just the U.S. government, but also the Russian government, that these are people that are able to perceive outside their body and see what's going on and how they were used. And he talks about that on some different things that happened. And it's very interesting in this booklet that he wrote, where he talks about that on Russian Phobos 2, how remote viewers helped on that. And then also on the U.S. Mars Observer, what happened to there and the remote viewers, what they were able to discern. But it's just amazing how much stuff goes on that just, if you indoctrinate people into this is the way it is, and you repeat it over and over again, it's like the basic game. If you tell a big enough lie and just tell it over and over again, eventually people will just believe it, and that's what you have happening here. It's just they just tell it over and over again, and just deny, and then people, okay, well, if it was really true, wouldn't we know about it? Becomes that mentality, and it's just like, no.
Yeah. I find it always fascinating that one person's word can put another person behind bars for the rest of their lives. But if 100 people come forward and say, I saw aliens, I saw this, I saw that, they are not believed. It's like it's not even taken into account. I don't know of any other topic where you can say, I have been abducted, and it be ignored if it were aliens, only if it's aliens. It's just ridiculous.
It is. It's very ridiculous. us.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes why a book like Battlefield Earth is refreshing and good, because it actually poses a real life scenario. What if the Voyager going out there is picked up, and what would happen? And in the back of the book, we have published the last interview that was done by Mr. Hubbard after he published Battlefield Earth originally, where he says, I'm not saying that we're going to be invaded, but I am saying this is something that we could do if that were to happen. And, here's a scenario that could play out if it were to happen, and how we could survive. And he does one thing that he is saying, which is something that Jim Mars also was just right down the middle, straight agreeing with him on, is that ultimately it's the human spirit that will survive. That's what's going to make, whether, I make jokes about how crazy people are and stuff like that, which they are, but underneath all that, there is a human spirit, that desire to survive, that's why we're surviving so far right now. You take a look at people that really do want to make things go, and they're the ones that move things forward with society. And so that's what he said, and that's what Jim Mars totally agreed with as well. That's what the story communicates. It is that survival of the human spirit that will ultimately prevail over these enemies that are basically trying to just dominate. And it's not just Earth that they were dominating, it's other civilizations as well.
Right. I hear you. I have to say, it's like Jim Mars, I mean, what a true and blue character, super encyclopedia of everything on the planet. When I heard that he had taken on this project and representing, I was like, is there no limit to this man? I'm like,
no, he was amazing. And I loved, we flew him out to LA a couple different times, and we traveled to a few different conventions together, and we became great friends. He did over 100 interviews working with us, but in so doing, I just got to really know the guy. And he was, you were talking about how just what a cheerful guy he was, and he didn't really get upset by the people, and people would challenge him and they'd argue with him, and he said, okay, well, we can agree to disagree, and that was his attitude. Right. And what he did have one outlet for when things got a little bit stressful. He had a cannon he kept in the backyard of his home in Texas. And so you go back, he had a cannon, and he loved to shoot his cannon.
Why am I not surprised?
He just obviously wasn't. He said, I'd just go pull that and just go boom, and just like all the go out with things. He said, I got my cannon. I'm gonna go shoot my cannon.
That is freaking hilarious. That so sounds like a great way to vent and something that he would do. Well, we've got to get to our first break. You guys, you're listening to me, Heidi Hollis, the Outlander, and we will be right back. Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to me, Heidi Hollis, the Outlander. Remembering, always, if it's weird, we're here. We're giving you advice and insight on outlandish topics. Phone lines are always open, 1-888-919-2355. But I realize most of you guys listen to this show through the app. So you're not listening to us live, but we're having a lively time because I have the president and publisher of Galaxy Press, John Goodwin. And we're talking about everything alien and Jim Mars, which kind of go together.
They do, indeed.
Yes. So during the break, you were mentioning how there's another book that's coming forward. What is this?
Yes. So after Warren Hubbard wrote and published Battlefield Earth, he then wrote a series of 10-volume series called Mission Earth. And they were also, all 10 books were New York Times bestsellers when they came out as well. And what makes them special is while Battlefield Earth is epic sci-fi, post-apocalyptic, taking place 1,000 years in the future, Mission Earth is current. It takes place right now. And even though he wrote in the 80s, it's just as appropriate now as it was back then. And Mission Earth is a mission to keep Earth from destroying itself. And it's basically satire. So it's written as a confession of one of the arch villains of the story. And the what we have here in this copy of the book is: discover a world where corporate power rules and political corruption is rife, where governments are driven by oil and controlled by drugs, where global warming is getting hotter by the minute and a scorching love affair could determine the fate of millions, where a cosmic conspiracy is about to hit home, posing a grave danger to Earth, and one charismatic Voltairean, General Heller, is out to save the planet from itself. So it's a total viewpoint of an alien looking at Earth, and so it points out, where you've got a planet that's controlled by the arch bad guy from Earth is a guy named John D. Rockacenter. And it goes on from there just with all of the one of the bases in Afyon, Turkey, and they have it there because they use all the opium they've learned how they use it on planet Earth. They use the drugs to get the government agencies, the wives of the ministers, hooked so that they can then blackmail the ministers to do what they want. It just goes on and on and on about what was really going on on planet Earth and how they're trying to, Mission Earth is trying to handle it so that it doesn't destroy itself from pollution and from drugs and from the crime. It's quite amazing, and it's just, like I said, it was a 10-book series. It's science fiction satire.
10 books?
10 books. Wow. It's just, like I said, he wrote it was 1.2 million words. He wrote it in 9 months. It was just like amazing. He's just...
Who does that? Did he write it in his sleep? Huh.
He was very prolific. He was, even in the 30s and 40s as a writer of pulp fiction, he was one of the most prolific writers. He, in that time period, he was writing about 100,000 words a month. And because he traveled so much as an adventurer and explorer, he was able to use a lot of what he learned from traveling the world in his stories. And because nobody else did that, hardly at all then, he was a member of the Explorers Club, and he was a barnstorming pilot, and he was a master mariner. So his travels added a lot of authenticity to his stories, which made him such one of the top best-selling authors, and why he was brought in by a publishing house called Street and Smith to write for a new magazine then called Astounding Science Fiction. And John W. Campbell, who was the editor then, was told, take whatever L. Ron Hubbard wrote and publish it, because they wanted to start humanizing science fiction. So he took with that experience, and he came out with Battlefield Earth and Mission Earth, and he was incredibly prolific. At the time, he was selling basically 90% of his work, first draft, first submission. It was being published like that. So he could definitely pull out the wordage. So it was amazing what he was able to do with writing this book.
My goodness, Stephen King, who? I mean, what? This guy was something else. I did not realize that. So he was beyond his time, big time. Yeah,
definitely that. And when you say that you love audiobooks, what I'll make sure I'll get with Carmen after this. I'll send you a copy of the first audiobook and send it to you so you could get an advanced taste of it.
Oh my gosh!
So we can talk about it later on.
I would love that.
That one there's not available yet, so I have to send that to you in advance. But the Battlefield Earth, you can get that, like I said, from Audible right now, just for one credit.
Oh my God! Thank you, John. That is so freaking awesome. I love it. I mean, especially driving in crazy traffic here in Chicago. You just put an audio book in, and you escape. See, I don't need a Canon. I just put in an audio book.
Exactly. No Canons. No Canons required.
Yeah. But, getting back to Jim Marrs and this booklet that you guys are so generously giving out for free. You got to go to Inception Radio Network and go to the Outlander show and tonight's episode, November 3rd. And you'll see in John Goodwin's little profile there, there'll be a link to the free PDF of that. You said this is the last writings of Jim Marrs.
Yes, on this subject, he had another book that he released, but it was a whole different area. But this one, in terms of aliens, UFOs, this is the last thing he ever wrote on that. And it's an interesting story how it came about it. If I could take a few minutes and tell you.
Yes, please do.
Yeah. So, because he did so many radio shows, there were certain questions he was always being asked. So he asked, "Can I put together something?" And this was in preparation of going to Alien Con up in San Jose. And so he said, "Sure, we'd love that." So he wrote this booklet. It's not that long. It's only like a dozen
16.
pages. Yeah.
16, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, but he put it together just as a summation of why he, appreciated Battlefield Earth and how it tied in with what was happening right now on UFOs, and his own studies, summation of that. And he actually addressed, like I mentioned earlier in the show, about Stephen Hawking and Elon Musk, what they had to say. But he also got into the whole 1952, the epidemic of UFO sightings, both in USA and other nations, and the number of the order that was sent to shoot down UFOs, and how our jets were being shot down until that order was rescinded, and at that point it was only then reported and not shoot them down, and so then our jet pilots stopped getting shot down. So he went over that whole thing there. So it's really amazing what he did on his research and put this whole thing together, from H.G. Wells and War of the Worlds, and some of the other stories of how they lent themselves to creating an acceptance of that. And then he was also the special report from Iron Mountain. He talks about that in here. So there's a lot of really good material that anybody that has studied this can get, okay, this is pretty cool what he writes. It's not the in-depth stuff, but he takes these things, but now he assumes you've already got some understanding of the real story of UFOs, and he goes into this and just touches it. Hey, look, here you go. It's like, come on, guys, open your eyes. This is what's going on. Right.
Yeah. No, I think this is a really well thought out analogy of the whole scenario that you just explained. It's quite in depth for being as brief as it is, to be honest.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it is.
That man's mind runs deep. So.
Oh no, it was amazing. We'd go out and have he loved his burgers and beer, so we'd go out and have our. And if he couldn't have the burgers, he at least wanted to have his beer. He loved, being able to do that. And he just would be able.
It's breaking up on us. There we go.
Sorry, so am I here? You got me?
Yep, I got you.
Okay, good.
I heard beer.
Yeah, beer. There we go. So it was, he was just talking about the different, his research that he was done, and he was very methodical, and it's funny, the other side to that, how methodical it was when his wife Carol called us and told us the morning that he passed away, saying, we were all shocked because a week before we had spoken with her, and she said, he's starting to recover. He should be good in about 2 weeks to get back and doing interviews again. So we thought, okay, good. So a week later, she called and said he passed away. We were totally not expecting that, I can assure you.
Yeah.
And he was, when I talked to her before his funeral, she said, whatever you want, we got 2 homes, and it's just full of all kinds. He never threw anything away. She said all of his researches, all of his papers, ticket stubs from shows he went to, 40 years ago, they're still there. He just didn't throw anything away. He was just, in his mind, everything, but he also had so much of his research he just kept there for reference as needed and stuff. Because the books that he wrote, like the Alien Agenda, Crossfire, Rule by Secrecy, he makes a lot of statements there that he's claiming this is what went down and this is what's going down. So he had to substantiate everything he said. So his references that he put in the back of his books, he kept all that material to hand so that if somebody were to challenge it, say, no, here you go. Here's the material. And
wow.
It was just amazing. The guy was just totally amazing.
Well, I thought his brain was an encyclopedia. Apparently his home is the encyclopedia with all of the doodads his brain, to go with it.
Right. His mind having everything in it is absolutely correct. But then others, when he have to corroborate that for any books, he'd have to say, well, look, how can you say this? And he had the material to show them. Okay. Because he definitely makes some propositions that don't go with the norm. That's for sure.
Truly. I when he passed, I mean, it really was an unexpected turn because he was getting better, and it was really just heartbreaking to hear. And I don't think he realized, well, I think he did, how much he was loved. I mean, out there in the world, period, I heard that he would go walking through the airport, and he'd often be stopped, and they'd want a selfie, and he's just, okay, yeah. I mean, you can't miss him with his hat.
No, his fedora is just definitely, that was his definite trademarks that he had. No, I experienced that with him when I traveled with him. People would stop and say, "Are you Jim Mars?" I said, "I read your book. I love that. That was great." And he just said, "Yeah." He was great with that. And but with all the radio shows that he did, it definitely kept him basically up to speed with just how much he was loved as a guest. We'd have other radio shows on. People would call and say, "I love your book this, or I love your book that, or this is great. Thank you so much for everything you do to expose the truth." And like I said, when we were up at Alien Con, it was just we gave him a space in our booth. We brought when we released the book, we crashed a huge spaceship on Hollywood Boulevard. We shut down Hollywood Boulevard and crashed a big spaceship.
Oh, that was you, was it? I saw that.
Yeah, it was me. Yeah,
I love it.
So it was great. So when we did that, we brought that spaceship up to Alien Con and set it up there, and his table was right with ours, right in front of the spaceship, and there was always huge lines, and the panels he was on were always the biggest panels. It was just, he was so well respected.
Oh gosh, yes. I mean, he was just a gem. He really, really helped give me a good start and understanding and the publishing world, because I write books on aliens. Hello, we should talk.
Yes.
Aliens, demons, but mine are nonfiction. But still, it's hey, you have Jim Mars repping you, so I'm sure you get it. But
he was a king of nonfiction. He was totally nonfiction. He just But sometimes you need a science fiction story to kind of like open up the idea, and it was able to open up discussion because people would ask about the story, and then it was very easy to bridge over to the nonfiction, and it really made it so easy for him to talk about the nonfiction by entering in with the fiction.
I don't know if you run into people that are really looking for answers about paranormal aspects, science fiction like aspects and alien aspects, and they feel like they are getting messages through the movies that are out, the books that are out. Do you come across people that are like, I feel like that spoke to me and it really addresses what's going on right now, and I've seen something like this? I mean, do you get people that cross over that have had personal experiences and find answers in the science fiction books that you put out?
I have, and mostly that comes up when I'm at conventions where people feel comfortable to come up and just say, "Hey, yeah, I love that book," and then they go tell their own story. Sometimes, like I said, we attend a lot of Comic Cons. I
love those.
Oh yeah, we do the San Diego Comic Con. Salt Lake City is really good. Up in Toronto, in Atlanta, the Dragon Con. So we do a lot of those things, and a lot of people will come up and just, it's a very comfortable environment to be able to start talking. And some people originate that. And sometimes we have people in the military will say, "Yeah, I experienced this," or also because of a program that we have called Writers of the Future, where we newly publish 12 writers every year and 12 artists in a contest that Mr. Hubbard started in 1983. And because science fiction is knows the herald possibility, which Mr. Hubbard talks about his introduction to Battlefield Earth, we have a lot of keynote speakers at our events that have been astronauts. And so they've told their stories about, their encounter with UFOs that they can't say about publicly because they're definitely told that you're going to, we'll cut off your whatevers, to say about it. So they can't say about it, and they can't show the pictures, but they can definitely talk about what they've observed and experienced when they're in space. And so it's mostly I find that when I'm actually talking to people face to face, not so much on email or phone.
I hear you. My goodness.
Yeah.
So this is like, are you a kid in a candy shop with all this stuff? I mean. Oh,
I am.
Sounds like this is a lot of fun.
With Jim. Oh, it's a blast, a hoot and a half. I have when I go out there and talk to people. And I love, for me, reading is an important thing, period. And so having some good fiction that doesn't require, that doesn't get into, immorality as the punchline and doesn't rely upon sex and drugs and profanity to entertain. This is just good high interest, which is what Jim liked about it as well. it's just, for me, I'm on a mission also. Just literacy is one of the solutions to crime and non-productivity. So I'm really big on that. In fact, in a couple of weeks, I've got a big event with Toys for Tots. The president and CEO of Toys for Tots is coming to our offices, and we have a big dinner. We donate a lot to Toys for Tots because, anyway, that's another story. But I do a lot try to promote literacy, and so these stories are very appropriate for that too. For kids that have reading requirements in school, the Battlefield Earth is listed with accelerated reader, and they get, I think it's 56 points, and the kids go crazy with that because they can get almost a whole year's worth of reading requirements, but just by reading this one book.
Oh my!
Yeah, which is great for middle school. Yeah, for middle school on up. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, jeez!
Yeah.
You know, I'm on your site right now, and I'm clicking through all of the different categories that L. Ron Hubbard wrote in, and it's just mystifying, like how his brain could go there and go so deep. Westerns, everybody. Westerns, even.
Yeah, he wrote 32 Western stories. And my favorite, because he had wrote with 15 different pen names, my favorite pen name of his was W.R. Colt, which stood for Winchester Remington Colt, so. But he wrote a lot, he wrote a lot of different, in all the different genres: adventure, mystery, Western, science fiction, fantasy, some romance. It was just, and he, like I said, he traveled a lot, so he was able to write a lot. And we just did a big show yesterday on Westerns, his Westerns, because he's one of the most popular Western writers. Him, along with some of the American popular Western writers. But it's just it's quite fun because I love reading and I love talking to people who like to read because they're normally much more educated than those that don't. And it gives me an opportunity to meet people like yourself on radio shows too, which I totally love doing.
Oh, I have so much fun doing this show. I'm like, I always say if I can...
It sounds I can totally tell from your show. It's just, for you, you have fun. It's like you have fun with this thing. It really communicates well. You love what you're doing.
Oh my gosh. I say if I could do this in my sleep, I would. And I think I am right now. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I so dig this. And it's like, Carmen had even shared, there's a competition that you guys have for artists to draw.
For artists and
and
for writers to write. Yeah. For science fiction and fantasy. And it's called Writers of the Future and Illustrators of the Future. And it's we have a website called Writers of the Future, and it's free to enter. It's open to anyone that's not been professionally published. We have entries from over 160 countries that come in. It's the biggest competition of its kind in the world. And every year we publish 12 winning writers and 12 winning artists. And it's open to anybody, like I said, to enter. And we've got people, from middle school all the way up. Our oldest we've entered the contest was 101. That's open to anybody.
That's amazing.
And it's free to enter.
He keeps trying to get me to join in on it. I'm a cartoonist too, and I just learned.
Wow!
Yeah, millions of readers. Oh my gosh, it's been crazy. I just learned the other day that it's in the millions now. I'm like, oh. So it's a paranormal comic. It's called The Outlanders. You'll see it on the InceptionRadioNetwork.com on their front page. It's there, and it's just been crazy. And so when Carmen heard, and Carmen's his buddy, you guys, if you don't know. And he's like, you got to put your stuff in the competition. I'm like, I said, oh, that sounds like fun. I'll definitely check that out. So Writers of the Future. Yeah,
writersofthefuture.com. Some of our original judges for that contest, or since you said you were, into cartoons and comics, were Ed Cartier was one of the first judges. Will Eisner, he's got the Eisner Award right now at Comic-Con. Wow. Frank Frazetta was a judge. Jack Kirby. These were all the original creators of sequential art, and they were the first judges of this contest. So it's definitely bona fide and very much an amazing way for a person to get their name known and started because it is such high repute. Yeah,
33 years you've been doing this.
Yes.
It's wild. It's just wild. I'm like, I've got to get on it. I swear. I'm like, I'm juggling the shows, I'm writing books, and I'm cartooning, and I'm never bored, and I'm always laughing and having a good old time with it.
Which is awesome. totally awesome.
It's like, okay, I'm going to do a competition next. Why not? Let's just have fun.
What the heck? And then when you win, you come out here, you can broadcast from the awards ceremony in Hollywood. It's a red carpet. It's a big red carpet event we do for the winners.
I see the stage that you guys put it on. Good
Wasn't
Lord.
that amazing? Yeah, that was cover art done from the book that we then made into the stage. And Larry Elmore, who's the guy that created the original Dungeons and Dragons artwork, is the one that painted that, and he was there on. If you go on the website, you can look at the opening event. It's him painting on stage as the opening act with fire dancers. So that was a pretty good opening.
You guys like going over the top, don't you?
We love it. We love it. Yes.
You've got the best job in the world.
I certainly do, along with you.
Oh, I love this. This is so much fun. I just put in the website on the chat group for you guys, writersofthefuture.com. You've got to see it. It's fantastic. Oh my goodness, I am so digging this. And you know, I'm looking at. I haven't seen many pictures of L. Ron Hubbard. Was he a person that liked to step out and be seen, or was he kind of reclusive? Or
not at all. That's really funny because he was. That's such the opposite of what he was. There's a site called lronhubbard.org, which has a bunch of pictures of him from all the way from as a baby all the way up through all of his adventures. He was a lieutenant in the Navy. There's a whole section on the military. He was America's youngest Eagle Scout. He just turned 13. He became Eagle Scout. There's a whole section on that. He was by the time he was 19, he'd already sailed to the Orient 3 different times. He was, so there's a lot of pictures of all his whole lifetime. So yeah, there's plenty of photos there on that site, lronhubbard.org, if somebody wants to see that.
Oh, I'm gonna look. Yeah, it's funny because it's like I usually just see that head-on picture, him sitting there looking like he's in almost an adventure like tie around his neck, and like that's what I usually see him as. And here he is, quite accomplished, quite young, an Eagle Scout. That took some time for most people. So he was the youngest ever, or at the time. Yeah, 13.
At the time. It was a few days after 13 he received his award. And he met Calvin Coolidge as representing the Boy Scouts of America. And he had a little entry in his journal on that, talking about meeting the president. It was like, okay, it was like, whatever. He had his adventures to do. And he was a barnstorming pilot, so he was a glider pilot and crashed, and tells that story about crashing. And he's barnstorming around from cornfield to cornfield and trading rides for gas and spare parts to keep going. This is when he was between his freshman and sophomore year at George Washington University. So yeah, he definitely was all over the place. He was hardly a recluse.
Overachiever. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
You should see people when they come to our offices here. They come into the on the library on the 4th floor, and they just kind of like Jesus. What? I wish I need to get a life.
Yeah, we've got to get to our next break, you guys. You're listening to me, Heidi Hollis, the Outlander, and we will be right back. Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to me, Heidi Hollis, the Outlander. Remembering, always if it's weird, we're here. And John is chowing down because he's been starving and working all day long. It's cracking me up as he's trying to chug a drink, some kind of blended drink that's supposed to be good for you. I take it. It's what you're having.
It's good for at least a half an hour.
Oh my goodness, man! I swear, I understand how those days go sometimes, like back to back to back to back, and it's like, but you've got good spirits about you, so all is well.
Yeah, it's totally all is well. Like I said, I couldn't imagine. I'd have to be dead to not be anything other than enthusiastic talking to you.
Oh, gee, see, that's cool. That's good to hear.
Exactly.
So with all the projects and all these different things that you're juggling, is there something that you're going to be working on soon, or that you hope to pull together sooner than later? What is the next step in your projects?
Well, right now I'm working on is I'm also the president of the Hollywood Christmas Parade. So we're putting that together right now.
I thought I was busy.
So that's happening the Sunday after Thanksgiving. So that is that's good. That actually put together 2-hour production, and we'll have about 200 celebrities in our building, which is the green room for the parade, and so we'll be doing a whole number on that in just a few weeks. And then, like I told you, we've got the general, who's the president of the U.S. Marine Corps Toys for Tots. We have a special dinner for him on Saturday night, and then the parade's on Sunday. So this is the kickoff event for the Marine Corps Toys for Tots. So that's a big event that we're gearing up for right now. And then,
wow,
so that's
amazing.
So I'm mostly going to be staying home between now and Thanksgiving. I've got one little thing I'll be doing, going to San Francisco for a few days, but otherwise setting that up and working on that. So that's exciting.
My goodness. And your secret weapon is your wife, who is juggling the phone calls in the background.
Totally. She's the one that brought me the green drink. She brought me some dinner, and I looked at it, and I just went,
uh-oh, breaking up again. Lost him. You're
okay,
there?
Sorry.
You're there.
I walked in a circle. I'm here.
That's all good. So she passed the green drink to you.
Forgive me. I'll never take a step again. Exactly.
Oh my goodness! Thank goodness for the wife. I mean, that's a secret weapon. That for sure is.
It definitely is.
So the Toys for Tots, that's a noble cause with everything that you've got on your plate that's going, and then to toss that in the mix.
Yeah, that's very exciting. And then probably in December, I'm going to be going to Ketchikan, Alaska. We're working on there getting a pier dedicated to actually L. Ron Hubbard up there. He wrote a book called The Chi Chalker, which is about Ketchikan, Alaska, and it's when he was up there, he was actually doing some research for the U.S. Navy on a device that was used to become LORAN, the long range navigation, which then was replaced by satellites. But part of the equipment he was able to isolate and track down a Nazi saboteur that was trying to cut the communication lines in the United States, because it's right there by Alaska. It's right next to Russia, and so he was trying to use that to cut communication lines, and so he was able to track that down. So we're doing a whole thing up there right now for probably in December after the parade, and after I get back from London for an event I'm doing over there. But then after that, we'll be doing this thing in Ketchikan, Alaska, which is I love it up there. It's a very, very fun place.
It's very cold as well.
It's very cold, but it's also it's the wettest city in America. There's more rainfall there in Ketchikan, Alaska than any place else in North America.
Ooh, no, thank you. I mean, I'm sure it's pretty, but I think I'd rather control a drone flying over or something.
Well, if I'm there and I see a drone, I'll go,
that'll be me waving.
Heidi? Is that you?
That will be me, and I'm like, "Hey, John, just coming through." That's all.
Yo, Heidi, goodness. I'll wave up and give you the high five and carry on.
Yep, exactly. My goodness, the more that you speak of L. Ron Hubbard, the more I feel like I know nothing of this man. It sounds like he was an Einstein of a sort. What drove this man? It's pretty remarkable.
It was very remarkable. He was, from the beginning, he was, his mother was a rarity in the American frontier. She herself was an educated, book-trained mother. This was like turn of the century, 1900s. So she taught him to read by the time he was 2.5. Oh. And so he was, because they're in Montana, he grew up on a horse ranch. So he was riding, he had his own saddle that he was used to ride horses by the time he was 3. And he became a blood brother of an Indian tribe up there. And so his first book that he wrote, called Buckskin Brigades, portrayed the Native American in as the good guys, and that was one of the first times that had ever happened. And New York Times gave it a great book review, and so it's just something that he traveled a lot, and he really enjoyed people. He traveled all over the place, and because his dad was in the Navy, he was able to travel a lot with them. And one time when he was, I guess he was in high school, and the teacher got upset at one of the other girl students and threw a piece of chalk and beamed her in the head. So he went up and picked up the teacher and threw him in the trash can, and he left there and went to San Diego to catch a ship to Guam, which his father's was. And his father said, "What are you doing here? You're supposed to be in school." So he sent him home. So he went home via China and traveled there and met a lot of the old mystics of the time. So that's where he did a lot of, went to Forbidden City when it was still forbidden. And pictures he took there in China, he sold to National Geographic, because after that time, America had never seen more than a couple turns in the Great Wall. So he had a shot that had many turns. And so he sold that to National Geographic. So he was definitely a Renaissance man. And because he was such a popular writer, he was able to turn his travels into more stories, and he sold a lot of his stories. And so there's definitely a lot that Hubbard.org has a lot of the different video vignettes of different parts of his life.
Did he venture alone oftentimes, or did he have like a group of folks that he did these adventures with, or?
Like the trip that he did to Ketchikan, Alaska, that was his first flag that he flew for the Explorers Club. There he traveled with his wife. Okay. But sometimes he would travel. He did when he was in college, he did a motion picture expedition of the last four-masted schooner that he had a bunch of other college students, and they went down there.
We're losing you.
So he did
Yeah.
I'm sitting
there you
still.
Go. You're good.
Okay.
I hear you.
You got
yes.
me? Okay. Okay, good.
You.
All right. So, so he just, good. I appreciate that. So he just did a lot of traveling and stuff. So it's, there's a lot of great stories. And so he was able to, a lot of his stories are historical fiction. He takes some point of fact and then builds a story around it, which made them a lot of fun. And because he was there in those areas, he had that reality to it, which really made it easy for a person to follow that story. Even today, when we have our stories that we've republished, and people in the Navy love his Navy stories because they're so realistic, and the stories that he writes about air flight, the pilots love those because they're so realistic because he actually did it. So that's something that's just makes it a lot of fun as a publisher to do that. And the fact that he created this contest called Writers and Illustrators of the Future enables me to meet so many amazing writers and top-notch writers who are the judges of the contest, and the winners who go on to major careers now because it's such an amazingly proven contest.
My goodness, I'm exhausted thinking about this man's life. He was constantly on the go. His poor wife.
He was. He was very much on the go. Yes.
I just can't imagine keeping it all organized. First off, having the energy to bounce from here to there, to start another thing over here and promote that. And I just, when I listen to this, I can't help but to think of course, Einstein, who somebody unethically kept his brain and they sliced into it and they found he had a ton more synapses than the next person. And I mean, when I hear people like L. Ron Hubbard, I'm like, something was different. There was something more at work that I don't see every day. That's why.
That's right. That's absolutely a fact. Do you ever make it to Los Angeles?
I do. I go there quite a bit.
Really? I would love to invite you to come over. We could have lunch or dinner, something like that, and I can show you the library and see this. I think it'd be great. I'd love to be able to meet you in person.
Oh my God.
And have some of your enthusiasm rub off on me.
Are you kidding me? And I'll never leave, and you'll be like, why did I invite this crazy woman?
No, I will never regret having invited you. And you can meet my wife, and you can there's amazing stuff here, and You can see some of the indigenous life forms.
Oh, cool. I would so love it. Thank you so much. I will definitely do that. I'll come in and and I'll bring a whole crew of strangers too. And I'm like, come on in, everybody. No, I won't do that.
Yeah. He said I could come however.
Yes.
No,
I love it.
I would love that. Yeah. So then I can show you and give you more, of a show of like the various things, because you can see his police badge when he was in the LA Police Force, or you can see his ribbons from when he was in the Navy, or you can see his 3 Guinness World Records. It's all real. And then we've got the 100+ Pulp Fiction stories. We have a special section with all the Pulp Fictions, and many of them have his name on the cover. So people go like, wow, I had just no idea.
This is, I'm sitting here with my jaw open, and I'm not exaggerating, because I'm like, I did not know people like that existed,
Yeah.
That is amazing. And it blows my mind how some people don't have hobbies. And then I hear of somebody who has so many hobbies. I have a lot of hobbies, and people think I'm crazy, and I'm not. I really am not. But it's like invigorating, and it does make you feel like, well, what the heck have I done with my life? My goodness, I wanted to have a world record too, or something. So
yeah,
wow.
No, it's a totally good thing to help inspire people to aspire to something. Just to aspire to excellence. It's a good thing.
It sounds like you need to have a crew of people that go out to the schools all over the country and say, do you know what this man did by the time he was 13? I mean,
no, I know. It's amazing.
Yeah, because I think a lot of kids don't realize their full potential, and to hear this has to be inspiring.
No, it is. We do, there's various projects, mostly through the books, that people can listen to or read if they're audiobooks or print readers. And it's just, it really isn't endearing to hear how they just it makes someone to read more. And that's something, like I said, it's very important to me.
Oh, my goodness. I'm blown away. I just really am. It's a whole other world to even go there and follow the stories. And then he did this, and then he did that. It's like, it doesn't go together, but the adventures of Forrest Gump, when he jumped all over the place and he's like, and he's here and he's there and he's doing this and he's doing great things. It's like, how do you keep up? As the person who puts out all his work, for you to keep it in your head, you live in an encyclopedia like Jim Mars, or what?
I'm not quite that good, but I have a lot of books open on my desk right now, so that when something comes up, I can go, oh, okay, here we go here, because there's a lot to it. But like, for example, next week, I'm going to be going to San Francisco to meet with a person that published one of his novels in 1949. He's like in his early 90s, and so he's got, great stories to tell about having known L. Ron Hubbard. So I'm going to go up there and we're going to do an interview. So part of that helps me to find out more about him just from talking to others who knew him. It's getting harder to find people like that, but he's got a very busy schedule. But we've got slotted in all day Thursday to be able to talk and do an interview. So I'll do that type of stuff to get more understanding of L. Ron Hubbard. You are the keeper of the vault of everything L. Ron Hubbard, so it's your duty to seek these people out, huh? Yeah, no, and they have such amazing stories, because it's like I said, I mentioned some of those people that were the original judges of the Illustrators of the Future contest. They themselves had great stories about Ron, because authors at the time never really talked to the artists, because the artists were just like, they weren't really of anything of being noticed, and some of them would talk about how he was so unlike the other authors that he would actually come in and thank them and appreciate for what they did, and they felt so special when he would talk to them, because he said nobody else did that. The other authors wouldn't do that. So, so that's just amazing what he's able to do on that. That is how did you get to the helm of such a thing, and how long have you been doing this? Well, I kind of you started first of all by sweeping the floors, and then you learned how to take out the trash. And then somebody calls in sick one day and say, I can do that. And then you quickly learn how to do it. and then you eventually come up, and because I've been working in publishing since '86, and I was asked to start Galaxy Press, the publisher house for all the fiction works, in 2002. And so I've been the president since 2002 doing this. And it's just, it's been a lot of fun. And like I said, I'm probably going to London right after the parade to work out the release of Battlefield Earth in London next spring. So it's, there's just all kinds of fun people to work with. And it's just I have a lot of fun. And the more I do, the more it's a little easier to do. So if people have questions, I can better answer the questions.
Yeah.
And so it's just one of those win-win things. And, things like this interview right now to me, those are the perks of the job.
That's awesome. Are there going to ever be any more movies about Battlefield Earth or any other of
we want to do that. We obviously didn't have a whole lot of a win on that first movie. Although I get probably a third to half the people say I love the movie, and then the other ones say they didn't. And so I personally love the movie because I sold 500,000 books. So, so that in itself, there's a lot of people that became fans of the author. And so I sold a lot of books because of that, which is for me, one of the big values of it. It would have been better had the movie been better well received. But ultimately, we sold a lot of books from that. But right now we're working on a graphic novel of Battlefield Earth, and that being done, we're going to venture back into the movie realm of things.
Nice. Oh, that is fantastic.
Yes.
I dug the movie. I did.
Good. A lot of people did. Just sometimes I approach the movie very just open as an open slate. However a person wants to go, I can appreciate either side of it. I personally, I enjoyed it. It's there are some things that were at variance to the storyline, which is what made it. There are cavemen that he finds, but there's no cavemen in the story. There are people from Scotland. They're Scotsmen, and they're very dedicated, and they're very on purpose and dutiful, and they don't fly F-16s. It's not that. So the willingness to suspend one's disbelief was a lot harder in the movie than it is in the book. And so I think that was ultimately the problem that people had with it, and why the fans didn't come to the defense when, some of the critics wanted to be able to drop their droppings.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I like that. Just drop their droppings, everybody.
Yes.
My goodness. I have a hard time. I don't really listen to the reviews from the official reviewers of movies and whatnot, because to each their own. I like science fiction. I love special effects. I like the idea wherever a person's mind can go and make it into spin the story into such a cool reality. I just want to dig in. I love that kind of stuff. So I'm going to see every science fiction movie out there, because that's just me. And I think if you're a science fiction fan, you go see it no matter what people are saying. I don't know. And it has to be on the big screen too. I can't be at home. I have to go to the theater. I know a lot of people are dropping off going to the theaters, but I'm like, no, I need that. I need that.
Yeah, no, I'd love the big theaters, even though sometimes it's a week's paycheck to go see a movie, but it's worth it. They're pretty good. At least here in Hollywood, they can be pretty. The Chinese theater is gorgeous. They have this big IMAX theater, which is just awesome. It's awesome to see movies there.
I have not gone in there for a movie. Now you got me thinking.
Yeah, it's really. I saw the last. What was it? The with Tom Cruise, the one. No, the one where they're.
That's your better half. Your better half is.
Yeah, my better half is speaking now. Not the American Made, with the other one. The before that, Mummy. Yeah, I saw the Mummy in that one there. You were talking about how you like any science fiction, so that's more of a fantasy, but still, it was seeing it in IMAX is just. It's amazing, just the sound that they do there, and the quality of the visual is just it's just amazing.
Oh my gosh, I dig it. I mean, I wish more people would keep supporting the theaters and getting out there. I was really sad when the drive-in theaters all shut down. You know, it's like, God, no, it's such an adventure to go out and to see something on the big screen with others, taking it in, popcorn. Everything's a sticky mess. It's an experience. I don't know. I hope.
No, that's a serious piece of Americana that's unfortunate that no longer exists. Yes. But
the theaters are struggling this year. They said everybody's watching the movies at home. It's like, we've got to change this around. I'm telling you. And you know what? I after you told me what you guys were able to pull off for the audiobook version, I'm thinking a whole new adventure can be had with audiobooks. I don't think I've ever heard of such an audiobook. That is amazing what you guys did.
Totally amazing. Yeah, and I'd be very interested to get your feedback on that. You know, I know Carmen talks to you periodically, so
yeah,
I will get it and listen to it. And then also one thing I just realized I didn't tell you is that there's a special right now too on Kindle. If anybody's a Kindle reader, the book by Alpha is available now for only 99 cents. It's something that Amazon offered up because it's such a good selling book. So they're saying, here you go, you can get 99 cents now for the Battlefield Earth book, and they're doing a whole promotion on it tomorrow, Saturday. Sending it out, but it's available for several days for 99 cents only. So that's something
Holy
too that
smokes.
If anybody got interested in what we've been talking about for this last hour and a half, then they might want to check it out. 99 cents isn't a whole lot to have to cough up to check it out for yourself.
Right. So starting November 4th, Saturday, tomorrow, they're going to have that for 99 cents for great.
Well, it's right now 99 cents, but they're sending out a whole big email promotion themselves tomorrow, letting people know. So you're getting advance notice. So get the ebook while supplies last.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to be all over that. I have a lot of books to get now with this one conversation.
Oh, good.
This is fantastic.
That's my job. It's my job.
Right. Yes. My goodness. You know what? This has been a really fun and lively conversation, John. I really want to thank you for taking the time to come and share and give away the free PDF from Jim Marr's last writings. I mean, that is something else. It's called Alien Invasion. Is Earth Prepared?
Yes.
So, got to get that. It is for free on Inception Radio Network. You just go to the Outlander, pick up the archive for November 3rd, and you'll be able to hear it and grab the PDF. So, you know, I'm blown away. This has been a lot of fun. You've definitely got to come back and we got to chat some more. And I'm going to go to LA and I'll be knocking on your door.
No, I'm for serious on this thing here. I definitely want, this is an invitation, and with everybody listening right now is my witness.
Awesome. I'm so there.
Okay, good.
John Goodwin, thank you so much for coming on, and hold the line for a minute. And I'm going to wrap this up. My gosh, this has been great.
Thank you, Heidi. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, you guys. Once again, we've come to the bottom of an awesome program. This is really fascinating. My jaw was really dropped open all this while. I am not kidding you. But remember, you can catch me here every Friday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. You've been listening to me, Heidi Hollis, the Outlander. Remembering always, if it's weird, we're here. Good night, everybody.